I got to hear some of your conversations, and half of who you are comes from the environment you were raised in. Half of who you are is the genetics. Now, if you look at some of our kids, that's scary, because half of who they are is their environment. That's tough. And then you look at their genetic gene pool, and that's tough too. So sometimes that's real scary. I had a little, and when I talk to you about survival, you know, the kids are kind of on their own too. I mean, I have 3- and 4-year-olds that are just taking care of themselves, just beyond what most of us can understand. I had last year we do something on May 17th, Big Truck Day, where we try to just bring in a lot of different kinds of forms of transportation. Because if you don't know what a bucket truck is, when you get to the point where you're going to read about a bucket truck, it has no meaning to you. And if you have children, you, as probably a parent, did a lot of exposure, reading, taking museums, all that kind of stuff. And when I talked at the very beginning about the adverse risk factors, it's part of that is not having that exposure. So we try to do a lot of exposure. So it's Big Truck Day, it's May 17th in Central Illinois. I think it was probably 102 degrees. I mean, it was hot. It was so hot. That whole week was hot. And the kids are outside on the parking lot, and they're going from truck to truck, and we have probably about 20 trucks, Hummers, and it's a real community partnership, and kids love it. And the teacher said to her class, be sure to wear a hat tomorrow, because we're going to be outside. Be sure to wear a hat. So this little girl comes in off the bus. Again, I see them as they're greeting. I greet them, and she has, honest to goodness, a wool stocking cap on her head. She gets off the bus. She has this wool stocking cap on her head. Sweat is dripping down her face. I'm like, Lord, girl, come here, come here, come here. Girl person, I don't know all their names. Girl person, because a boy person, come over here, you know. And I said, what? And I take her to teacher, and she's like, I told him to wear a hat because we were going to be outside. And she just looked at me and she's like, Jill, this one's raising herself. And so before she left, she probably thought, before she got on the bus, my teacher said, wear a hat. She went over to wherever she found her hat, under her bed or wherever, put it on. I mean, and sweat was just dripping down. Now, she didn't even have an adult really checking her as she went out the door. So when I talk about survival, sometimes it's kids are, you know, I mean, we couldn't go out the door until we had a 5-point inspection, you know, if we were dressed appropriately, whatever. But this little girl just raising herself with sweat dripping down her face. And again, the hidden rules in which you grow up with is what you believe. One of the things we have is you can bring animals to the building. Children can bring pets. And so parents have to fill out an approval form, and I have to sign it. And it's basically dogs. And I just want to make sure that they've had their vaccination. And they have to prove verification of current animal vaccinations. They have to turn this in with the form. Because I'm a big dog person. And so I got this form in my principal's mailbox, and it's an approval form, and it's from a parent, and it says date the animal will be visiting the classroom. It says this week. It's filled out by the parent. Type of animal, rat, well trained, no biting or has any bad reactions. Breed, she left that blank. Size, small. Purpose of the visit, show off my child's rat. And then at the bottom, this just tells you we're just in a different world. This child is being raised by this parent who was raised at risk, who was raised at, you know, it's just, Principal Grove, I won't allow the children to touch Ziggy, as rats and other rodents can die from the common cold or flu given to them by children. She was worried about the rat. She wasn't worried about my kids. I was like, I won't let the children touch Ziggy, as rats and other rodents can die from the common cold or flu given to them by children. I read it about a million times. It's like, she's worried about a rat. She's not worried about my kids. And I just put, due to safety issues, rodents aren't allowed to school. But half of who you are comes from your environment, and that's big to remember. And not every child has the same economic kind of hidden rules that you grew up with. Relationships, I talked about them. If we don't form these, we're never going to close the achievement gap. When I told you low-income kids, what motivates them is relationships. Authentic, real relationships. Kids need backups. Coaches are really good at this. I think coaches, PE teachers, things are really very, very good at this. They get this relationship piece. Because it's not a warm, fuzzy, like, you know, how are you, love you, all that. It's just, I mean what I say what I mean, and I care enough about you not to let you do this. I care enough about you not to let you do these things. If you don't have relationships and you have a lot of rules, all you're going to have is rebellion. You got to have a relationship. You got to know the names. Your name identifies, your name dignifies you. I had a Kirby salesman stop by my house, said my name, said Jill, 5, 6, 7 times in a half hour. I was like, man, we are good friends. I'm going to buy this vacuum cleaner. It's only $2,000. It's as much as a car. I will buy it. But it was because our name really identifies us and dignifies us. And so we have to call people by their names. And I think in relationships and education, this is a big one. We have to teach kids. I think this is so important. We have to have a way to teach kids to let us know when they're understanding the material and when they're not. I knew some of you were not understanding Rick Deverman's presentation. I knew it, but you were too embarrassed to say anything. I knew it. I sat over there, I was like, look at these knuckleheads. They don't know what he's talking about. You have kids in your classrooms that are feeling the same way, but they don't know what the system that you've set up and that can ask questions or to let you know when they understand the material. That's big. And you've got to learn from teachers in your building. How do you let kids let you know when they understand the material, and how do you let kids know ways to let you know when they don't understand the material? That's the big one. And that's about relationship building. That's super important. We don't have a lot of time left, but one thing that Eric Jensen talks about is the chronic exposure to poverty causes the brain to physically change. What that means, when I first gave you that first kind of my definition for poverty, is that it's a complex array of risk factors that build on one another and produce devastating. When it says emotional and social challenges, what the brain needs, the brain really, really needs exploration. The brain really, really needs attachments. There are many 3- and 4-year-olds that have had no exploration. They haven't been exposed to things. They haven't had the attachments. And so that really does cause here's the bad news. But I mean, it does affect the brain. But the good news is the brain is something that is designed to adapt from experiences. And Eric Jensen's whole thing is if the brain can change because of adverse things, then the brain also can adapt. And what can schools do to change that? And schools can. They can change things for the better. But a lot of kids, they have chronic stressors. That causes the brain to change. Neglect, malnutrition, drug use, trauma. When cells aren't growing, when you have 3-year-olds that nobody's talking to them, the cells aren't growing. And when the cells aren't growing, the cells are hunkering down. That's the way that he talks about it. It's they're hunkering down to conserve resources for a future threat. So when there's not stimulation, the cells aren't growing. And they just kind of hunker down because there might be a future trauma that I have to really protect myself. This could be a whole day, but I just want to give you a little bit of Eric Jensen. He also talks about cognitive legs. He said the brain needs challenging. If you're sitting in a classroom, you're doing worksheet, 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 that's not super challenging. Brain can grow. I said after 7 you were screwed. That really wasn't true. The brain does keep changing. The brain does keep growing. The brain does adapt. Look at people with traumatic brain injury. I mean, the brain adapts. It's unbelievable what the brain can do if the right input is put in there, and you're the input. And then he talks about health and safety, that poverty causes I had a child that, very normal, typical developing child, to health and safety. They lived in the second story of a building. Screen wasn't in the window real good. They were very, very poor. Typical developing child. Smart little thing. Second floor, screen wasn't in, leaned against the screen, fell on her head, spent 6 months in Peoria's Children's Hospital, has brain damage. That's because health and safety. I can tell you that if I lived in a second floor apartment, my father would be over there and check every screen, and if every screen wasn't secured, he would go out and buy new screens. But when the resources are limited, it brings about health and safety issues you can't fix, or you didn't know how to fix, or you didn't have the landlord fix. But that little girl's life changed because of a poverty situation. They didn't have the resources to fix the window or the screen. So there's health and safety. But the brain is designed to adapt. This little girl's in my school. She's been there now for 3 years. She's adapted. She's growing. She's changing. She couldn't walk. Now she walks. Because the brain can adapt. For things to change, we gotta change. One of my favorite quotes is this one. There's nothing in a caterpillar that tells you it's going to be a butterfly. If you look at a caterpillar, you got a lot of caterpillars in your classroom. And if you're high school teachers, Lord, oh man, there's a lot of caterpillars, and they don't even want to be butterflies. But there's nothing in a caterpillar that tells you it's going to be a butterfly. There's a couple questions maybe you can talk about. These are 2 quotes by kind of some Grovisms. People say there's some Grovisms. It's like I told somebody today about the basket. You're going to get in the special basket. I was telling Dan Ford that. He's like, I love that, the special basket. You're going to get in the special basket. If you don't come today, you're going to end up in the special basket. I believe we have to inspire our kids to follow their passions. But here's the big part of it. We also have to let them inspire us to do the same. If you're really a good teacher, yeah, you're going to inspire kids. You're going to be a difference maker. You're going to bring your best work. You're going to make sure that you're at your best every day. You're going to try to do all those things. I understand that. It's about changing the world through children. But don't forget to let them inspire you to do the same. I am so inspired this year. I loved registration. I mean, it was a pain. It was 2 nights till 7 o'clock, and I'm calling families, but I just am so inspired, and the reason I'm inspired is because I allowed them to inspire me. I've got a family that I got to figure out. This is going to be a hard nut to crack, and I'm inspired this year to do it. She's tough. She thinks the only way that people are going to listen to her is if she yells and screams. And she finger wagged at me yesterday. I'm like, oh my gosh, I hate finger wagging. So, I mean, I wouldn't do it in public. I didn't say anything in public to her because there was an audience. And let me tell you this, if I would have taken her on with an audience, she would have had all the power. And that's true in your classroom. When you have a kid that has a discipline problem and you in front of everybody say, hey, whatever, don't finger wag, you have lost them. When anybody has an audience, they have all the power. She would have done anything to save face. As I had a kid one time tell me, Miss Grove, I would rather look bad in front of my friends than dumb. I was like, why were you throwing chairs? I can't read. Teacher asked me to read out loud. It was a sub. My teacher knew that I couldn't read. The sub asked me to read. I am not going to look dumb in front of my 5th grade friends. I'm going to look bad. So she finger wagged at me yesterday. We had some problems last year. We worked through them. I'm not giving up on her. She is not going to, ooh, no, we're going to, she's worth it. Her child's worth it. We're going to stay together. I said at one point, I think we need to have a divorce, or we need to go, because she and I and the teacher, we're going to work it out, because I'm not giving up on her. She wants me to give up. She wants me to give up and just say her kid can't come back. I know she wants me. I'm not going to do it. She did her finger wagging at me yesterday, but I'm not going to let her finger wag. But if I would have addressed it in front of staff, there was staff, she would have had all the power. We're going to figure it out. I am inspired. I am inspired by her. And if you're not inspired, then find another job. Our kids are worth it. Many of these kids really, really, really drew a bad parent lottery ticket. They can't afford to draw a bad teacher ticket. They can't. Their lives will never be the same. I drew a good parent lottery ticket. That's half the battle. Some of our kids really draw tough parent lottery tickets. And what I mean is that the parent loves, it's not that they don't love and support their child, it is resources are limited, and that's not the priority. And then my last quote is this. You're in public service. I don't know if anybody's told you that. Public service. Public education is a lot like public service. And I really like politics. And I have learned that when you're in public service, you can make it as honorable as you want. And there's a lot of people in public service and public politics that don't make it very honorable. It's a choice. So I challenge you this year, I challenge you to really, really try to make it honorable. To make it where I would say, it's your best work. Engagement, you're gonna hear a lot about that this week, is the key. And it's the most misunderstood and overused term in education, engagement. I mean engagement is when the hamster is running, the wheel is turning, and the light bulb is on. We have to help kids have control over their educational destiny. We gotta teach kids. Education is, there's something, you gotta take charge of your learning. You got to take charge of your learning. How are you going to do that today? And when they need help, we've got to help them. And we got to find out ways to let them know when they can let us know when they need help. I think I'm about done. I've always enjoyed doing this. I've been honored to ask every year to kind of talk a little bit about this subject. I've changed it up year to year. But I wish you all well. It is, public service is so difficult. And I hope that you will not only make it honorable, but you'll help each other, you'll learn from each other, you'll collaborate with each other, you'll collaborate with the old teachers that are in your building that take charge of the teacher's lounge. I used to be afraid of them. Now I'm one of them. Don't be afraid, you know, to really, really seek out help and to seek out this department. They didn't have this department. When I became a teacher, it was like, here's the keys. And I went to the wrong playground with my kids. That was the worst thing I did. Like, they all talked about me in the lounge. They were like, you went to the wrong playground. Second graders go to the north play. I didn't know. Nobody told me. So you've got support. And this is a great job, but it's a tough job. And it is not, and there are going to be days you're going to think, gosh, why did I do this? But if you do it because you want to inspire and you want kids to inspire you, then you did the right thing. I wish you all well, be a difference maker, and enjoy the rest of your week. All right, thanks.